All right, so in today's video, we'll be talking about the UI for the Steam Deck and just going through it a little bit, giving impressions of both mobile and desktop, and let's get into it. All right, so I'm going to start with a talking head a little bit, and then we'll go and look at some of the interfaces for how you actually use the Steam Deck. So going into this, I knew it was different than Steam would be normally. Um, Most of my problem is the fact that it's not as consoleized as some of the other consoles. Like, it's kind of boasted as a handheld console PC hybrid, right? As well as being a hybrid because you can plug it into a monitor or you can use it in handheld mode. And I feel like they did not very good on any of the aspects. So let me dive in on that. So first we're going to talk about handheld. So handheld I think is great, but it's mostly for maybe low end games where you can get 6, 7 hours. I think 6 is high end, but of the times that you can get for most of the games. But I feel like handheld wise, you're not going to be playing a lot of intense games. Otherwise, your battery life is going to suffer. Getting like 2 hours of battery life on Apex or other, newer games are not going to be able to run as long on the Steam Deck in handheld mode unless you plug it in and you're just tethered to the wall then. So I don't know if it's good to use the handheld portion of the Steam Deck outside of those games unless you're fine with being tethered to either a battery or a wall so you can get some extra juice on there because of that time limit. Now, if you only want to play 2 hours and you want to play that game, that's great. I'm just thinking of the people, especially me, like I'm in bed. I'm close to an outlet, I guess, but I do not want to be tethered to the wall constantly because maybe I'll go to the bed to my couch and move around a little bit for more freely. And the battery life definitely is suffering with the Steam Deck. And so I did mess with emulation a little bit, but that'll be in a different video where I go over my thoughts on emulation on the Steam Deck and everything like that. So look out for that video coming out soon. But most of this video is just talking about the Steam interface as well as the desktop interface. Just, person that doesn't know what they're doing goes into it and thinks it's a console. So I think that aspect of it, they have done pretty well as long as you're not doing anything even slightly advanced. So most people have games on GOG or Epic Games, and there is no built-in aspect for that. So you have to actually go in and download your own thing. And I'll show you guys that in a little bit further on in the video. I'll go into the desktop mode and show you guys how I did that. Right off the bat, just going into it, it was great. I already filled up my Steam Deck. So let's go ahead and switch to that view and I'll show you guys what it looks like as well as all the games I've downloaded and my storage and everything like that. So let's go do that. All right, so after you log into Steam and get all that set up, Wi-Fi and all of that, this is where they drop you into. Now you might see a little bit more on this screen for me just because I've played some games already on the Steam Deck. So I am using a mouse as I just have it plugged in to be able to capture this. But the controls pretty easy to use in handheld mode. In this kind of desktop mode, I guess it's not desktop mode, but plugged into a keyboard and mouse on here, it's a little bit more difficult. I don't know why the super key or the master or the Windows key, how whatever you want to call that on your keyboard, that doesn't pull up anything. But if you hit escape, it takes you back. So I was playing Stardew Valley before I started making this video, and so that's why it put me back on Stardew Valley there. But you can just click down here with the Steam, and normally just hitting the Steam button on your Steam Deck would bring you there. And so that's the home view. There's not a great way of like navigating this without the controller. I found that keyboard and mouse was kind of an afterthought for them on this screen specifically, as most of the users should be using a Steam Deck in their hands, I think is what they're going off of. They didn't lean too much into plugging in keyboard, mouse, and a bunch of other, accessories to it. especially because the dock was delayed. So I think that's kind of where they're at right now. And so they kind of push those features a little bit back. That is a lot of what I'll harp on in this video. The keyboard and mouse experience on the Steam Deck is not very good, which I don't like because I'm trying to use this as a hybrid and not just as a handheld. So I am missing that feature of completeness of using it as a keyboard and mouse. It is not the worst experience I've ever had, but it is definitely not the best. So let's go ahead and go into my library. So these are the installed games here. And so you can see I installed a bunch of the Final Fantasy games and Persona and a bunch of other games that all work pretty well. I believe I installed a few that say that they're not supported. RetroArch is technically supported. It just doesn't have the certification yet. There's one in here. Oh, I think it was one of the Final Fantasy. Yeah, Final Fantasy 13-2. I have not tried it yet, but I will let you guys know. I plan on doing maybe a video of trying a bunch of games that aren't supported or haven't been verified yet. And so look out for that video coming up. I did download Beat Saber as well, but I don't see that on here. So I'll have to see if I can get that installed. I'm going to try VR, another video again. I'm telling you guys to look at videos that I haven't made yet, but do make sure to hit the subscribe button and you'll get notified of those. The experience trying to install these things was great, besides the fact that you don't have really an option of filtering these outside of just the top up here, as well as including, it disappeared because I'm not using, yeah, there it is. So down in the bottom here, as soon as I move the mouse, it's going to change. But down on the bottom, it says filter, and you can filter, but you can't say I want just the, let's see if I can do this real quick. Yeah, so verified only. I can't like choose, I only want the non-chosen ones, I guess. Like I want the ones that Steam hasn't even tried to verify yet. That's the category I want. I don't want the unsupported ones because they mark some of them as unsupported. I don't care about the supported ones, playable or completely certified, whatever, verified. I want just the untouched ones. I just want the ones that you haven't actually verified yet. And that's kind of annoying that they're not there. And then the filter kind of breaks where now all games is not all my games because the filter is there. See right here, this is what I was talking about. I can do verified, playable, and untested, but I just want to choose untested. And it doesn't seem like you can do that, which I think is a missed opportunity there. Maybe they'll fix that at some point. And so let's do all games real quick. And so yeah, like as you can see here, using the keyboard and mouse, I'm having issues with it, and I have to try to use the controls on my Steam Deck. So again, the experience with keyboard and mouse kind of limited compared to using a controller. And so let's go ahead and I'm going to show my settings real quick. I have a bunch of games downloaded, bunch of, Proton stuff. I did actually download nearly a terabyte of games. I did have more before and I deleted some, so I'll download some more. But overall, it's not too bad. For storage, I did download a few that were bigger games, like Forza Horizon 4 is definitely, a larger game. And I tried using remote play with my desktop. Not the greatest. I was unable to actually get it to work really at all. So most of the time it was really blocky. I know this video is kind of all over the place. So for the most part, I've been enjoying the actual Steam gaming interface. That has been great. A lot of my issue comes when you're talking about the desktop mode. They do support this, so it is important to be, fairly good. And so having this supported, I think that they should try to optimize this a little bit more with the controls that you have on the Steam Deck. Keyboard and mouse, yeah, it's great because now I got full control of desktop mode. That's awesome to be able. It's just Linux, keyboard and mouse. Main source of using Linux is keyboard and mouse. And I think that they just need to work on the controls of the controller on the Steam Deck so that it can move around a little bit better and just be more user friendly if they're expecting people to actually use this interface to add apps, for an instance, which I did install the Heroic Game Launcher, and I do recommend using that to get Epic and GOG accounts to be on your Steam Deck. I've already logged in. I'm going to show you guys this. I'm not going to go through on how to do that. It's pretty simple. You just log in through Epic and GOG, and then they give you a list of games. These are all my games that I have on Epic, and you can just download them. And I don't know if they add them to Steam automatically, but if they don't, then you can add them. And I can even go and add the Heroic Game Launcher as well here, which I will do right now as you guys are watching. I can go here and I can right click and say add to Steam, and the little ball will bounce as it's wanting to download or to add it to Steam. And so now if I go back to the game mode, when I do in a second, I will show you, and you launch this guy, the Heroic Game Launcher, from Steam, so you never have to leave that interface. So that is a kind of a good caveat on why you just have to use a keyboard or mouse in desktop mode and then add everything to the Steam non-official software, and then you can just go there and launch it there, and you should be able to use this pretty well with the controls that are in Steam. So yeah, so for the most part, this is pretty good, and I haven't actually tried to play a game from Heroic. Maybe I will do that in a future video and try to see what type of success I have with that. I would think that if it works in Steam and you have a copy in the Epic Game Store, it should theoretically work just as good, but may not, so you never know. I got GOG games here too. They're not going to support it directly, so at least the Heroic Game Launcher will allow it. You can also filter at least GOG games for Windows and Linux, so you can actually, these will actually just work on Linux, which is cool. I believe is what that means. Let me know down in the comments if that is different, but I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Whereas the Windows ones are going to try to run through the Proton layer or anything else, Wine and all of that to try to get them to work. And so, yeah, the desktop mode isn't the best, in my opinion. I think they have a little bit to do to make it a little bit better, just a little bit to make it better for users that are not used to the Linux. And I think that they have that plan. There's some notes that show up when you are in Steam around trying to add programs that you might want to add that is not natively in Steam, and it should just be able to find them, I think is what they're going for. I don't know if that's going to be that they integrate the Discover store for KDE, and so you can find software that way, or if it's going to be like a white list of software that they find on there, something like that. Anything is better than what they have now. I'm not saying that they need to do that, because some of that's advanced, like emulation and stuff like that, outside of what Steam already has. I would say they don't need to do, but it does make this console, if you want to call it a console, a little bit more user-friendly and more approachable for the average user. And that's just my opinion. So let's go ahead and go back to game mode. All right, now that we're back to game mode, go to library, and you got non-Steam, which I have the Heroic Game Launcher here twice, so I'll just remove one of them. And so I got Retro Deck as well. I've been playing around with that for emulation, but that'll be another video, like I said before. And so you can go here to launch the Heroic Game Launcher. And so you can launch this while you're still in the Steam interface, and this should interact with Steam a little bit better. If not, you can just go through desktop mode. It's not the worst, as well as it's mostly typing on the desktop mode that I have the most issue with, is trying to get that keyboard to work. Firefox kind of like jumps it to the top, and so there are some issues there with maybe that's something they can work out with Firefox, or see if it's a Steam on-screen keyboard issue, then they can fix that. Just some little quality of life things to make it a little bit easier to use in handheld mode would be amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and quit out of this and switch cameras back to full screen, and we can finish up the video. All right, so that was the Steam interface. I do realize I had that whole thing muted. I don't think that it adds too much. I didn't play a game or anything, so sorry about that. I will be better in the future of making sure that the audio on the Steam Deck is coming through to the capture software and all of that. But with that, I'm going to say that the Steam Deck is definitely worth buying. I just think that there's a lot that they could do to improve it, to make it easier for people that are not that into gaming, I guess, or not in, haven't got into it that much yet, and giving them something that they can just buy games on and play games and not have to worry about fiddling with. But I think that they are definitely headed down the right direction. For the most part, the controls are amazing within the Steam interface. Once they go into the desktop mode, got to use keyboard and mouse if you really want to be fast about it. Otherwise, it's going to take you a little bit longer, and sometimes quite a bit longer depending on what you're doing, to try to use the controller that's on the Steam Deck. For the most part, it works, so I think it's not that big of an issue. I just think it's quality of life stuff. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about my opinion on the Steam Deck and around the interface. Let me know if you guys got one, if you plan on getting one, and what level of interaction are you expecting from the Steam Deck. Are you expecting going to desktop mode? Are you expected just to stay in the Steam client game mode? And are you gonna fiddle with all the settings or emulation? Let me know down in the comments of all of that. I'd love to know your guys' experience with it and what you guys think about the interface as well. Before we get out of here, like this video if you liked it, dislike if you don't, hit the subscribe button, and then turn bell notification on so you get notified when we upload new videos, as well as when we go live. I do plan on streaming at some point with the Steam Deck and you playing games on it, and for the most part, that might actually be how I play a lot of the games, as I do want to use that system as much as possible, as well as trying to go between my PC and the Steam Deck to see saves and all of that. So make sure to look down in the description for all of the affiliate links to Amazon. I don't think I can get one for the Steam Deck. Also look out for social media down there and Discord and all of that. Follow on all of those, join the server. We can talk about games, we can talk about the Steam Deck. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.